Hello, everyone. This is Gruesome Herzog. My very special guest is actor, stuntman, director, producer, Jim Dougherty. How are you doing, Jim?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Great. Thank you very much for coming on.
Hey, thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
No problem. We tried a couple weeks ago, and our schedules got a little twisted. But I've noticed you in a couple films. I've seen one of them, and you were behind the scenes for another one, which we'll talk about a little bit later. But I do appreciate you taking time to come on tonight. You are a talent to be reckoned with, and I'm not blowing smoke up your butt either. You are, after what I've seen you in the movie Leech, which we'll talk about later, it's a fantastic performance on you.
Oh, thank you.
No problem. And a movie I do want to start with, I didn't see it. It's called Blood Moon in 2008. Are you willing to talk about this one?
We can talk about that one briefly. I worked on Blood Moon. It was shot in Franklin, Indiana, and I did a little bit of work on that as an actor, and got an opportunity to work with Lloyd Kaufman and a couple of other folks, and it was an interesting experience. That's a film that I think it's still sitting somewhere on a shelf and hasn't been released yet.
Oh, wow. A lot of them.
Yeah, it's interesting how that happens, because there are a lot of films that get made and then they just sit there and they don't find an audience, or maybe it didn't turn out the way that people that made the film expected, so they just don't want to show it to anyone, or who knows what. But there are a lot of films, and I've only done a couple of those that have been that way.
Yeah, and it stars Asshole O'Rear, right?
Yes. Well, that's actually where I met Jim O'Rear. Jim and I go back to Blood Moon. The first time I met him was on that set, and I played Governor, and he was my assistant. We had a little scene at the end of the film before we both get killed. And that's where I met Jim, and we hit it off, and we've worked together several times since then.
Yeah, Jim's I'm sure you heard the interview, but Jim, he is a talent. I mean, it's amazing. I mean, I'll say it again. I've already said it 3 times, and I'll say it again. He reminds me of Rob Schneider of the horror industry.
Yeah, I can see that. You can do it!
I can see him. Exactly. Now, the next film I also didn't see, and I should have my ass kicked. Well, no, I actually shouldn't, because I guess it ain't available nowhere, but Spooky Tales in 2009.
Yeah, that's another one that's been shot, and I know that they had a premiere screening of that, which I wasn't able to attend, but I haven't even seen the film. Never received a copy of it. It's another one of those that got made and is sitting on a shelf somewhere and collecting dust. So there's not really a whole lot more to talk about with that film.
It's sad. I mean, you'd be surprised how many movies that are out there that are probably would be freaking phenomenal. People be going nuts over them, but it's just so hard to get a distributor deal. I mean, sometimes things just fall apart where it's like a devil's candy where I'm done. I want nothing to do with it.
Yeah. Well, the fact that film got completed and still is sitting on a shelf, I know that there are a lot of films that well, let's take, for instance, you've seen Beverly Lane.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a film that was made on a shoestring budget, got completed, and Josh Hull, who was the director of that, writer-director.
Who's that?
Joshua Hull.
Oh, God, him?
That guy.
Yeah, that guy.
But he's gangbusters. He goes out there and promotes the thing. He's gotten people to watch it. He's going to conventions. He's promoting the film, and people have seen it. And I think that in the indie film industry, when you're working with micro budgets up into some decent smaller budgets, a lot of times you don't have a big machine behind you to get it out. You got to do it yourself.
Right.
And part of that process is, you can't just show it one time and then expect, everything to open and the heavens to part and all of a sudden it's like this huge hit. You've got to get out there and you've got to beat on the pavement and, you got to get your work out there and get it seen. And, And Josh has been a great example of doing something that those other couple of films that I worked on hadn't done, which is really go out there and promote the work. Everything in early stages of filmmaking is going to be something that, maybe could have been done this way or could have been done that way. We always look at our past work and go, gosh, I wish I would have done this, or gosh, I wish I would have done that.
Right.
But the piece is what the piece is in the time that it was done, and it will find an audience if you give the audience a chance to find it.
Right. But
so,
Beverly Lane, to me, I did interview with the cast. A lot of people listen to it, and you did yourself. And what amazes me about Beverly Lane is I'm a big zombie fan, like I mentioned numerous times. But what's so neat about Beverly Lane is you had two stories. You had the office, and you had the zombies outside. And it wasn't so much about the zombies on the outside. It was more about the employees hating each other in the inside. Mm-hmm. And for it to be a low budget like that, the freaking thing was shot so professionally, you wouldn't know totally that it's a low budget film.
Well, I have to say thank you, because I actually shot that film. I shot that with my new camera that I had just gotten before that, and part of that, though, was, Josh and I went into that film quite a while before shooting. We knew we were only going to have 4 days to shoot it. We shot that film in 4 days.
That's amazing.
And, we talked about, and I co-produced the film as well, and we talked about the need to do this as efficiently as possible, and one of the ways to do that is the cast has got to be completely off script, because we were going to have to shoot it in chunks like you would shoot a live performance of a play or something. And we had to be able to move the camera at any given moment so that we could capture a whole scene, and then move the camera over here, do a whole scene, and then get, whatever pickups we needed. We had a great sound guy on there, too. Chuck Boudreau was the sound guy on that. And, a really great crew of people that worked very hard on that film. Again, we'd start at 7 o'clock in the morning, and we'd leave there at 10 or 11 o'clock at night. We did 2 weekends, one Saturday, one Sunday, then the following Saturday and Sunday. And the people at Phillips Metal, which is where we shot the film, just gave us the place, said, here you go, and let us have carte blanche. And we used minimal lighting, and there was a big picture window on the side, so we were able to get a lot of good sunlight in from that. So that's mostly natural light with a little bit of fill with some with those curly Q fluorescent bulbs. And other than that, we didn't have time to do setups or anything. It was, the lights we mounted them to the ceiling to generally light an area, and then we shot and just total guerrilla style.
Wow. Yeah. Again, that it's amazing how that movie has just gone viral. There's a lot of people that has not seen that movie, and it's one. I think it's gonna be one of these films that it's gonna, really make you, your first, like you mentioned, a new camera, you shot it, and it turned out very well. And I think that thing is going to be easily going to be one of the iconic movies 20 years from now. I really do. I really believe that.
I'm glad you think that. That's, whenever you work on something and you get really close to it, because I also cut the film, and I've watched it so many times that I'm tired of looking at it, I'm tired of looking at it, but people that have never seen it before, they have a response to it, and every time you get someone like you that gives you a perspective after having seen the film, you're kind of like, okay, well, that's cool. What we were trying to do actually did work, and what we were trying to set up visually, theme-wise, with the way the actors worked together and so forth, it paid off in the end to the people that have never seen the film. So that's always gratifying to hear that. But, when it comes to looking at the film, it's, I'm done.
Right.
I'm done.
Right. Well,
let's move on to the next one.
Yep. Well, good job on that film. That's it's amazing that you even have that you have a part of that movie, and it's just the whole crew. I think is so phenomenal. It's just a fun crew.
Well, thank you. I think it's a fabulous cast, and I think that Josh Hall did a fantastic job of bringing all the people together and really working on something to realize the vision that he had when he wrote the script. So, that's that's really hats off to him and the rest of the crew and the cast for really coming together. And I think it really is a labor of love more than it is anything else. And I think that speaks volumes for what, what came out of it.
All right. Well, the next film that we're going to talk about, it's also, as far as I know, it hasn't been released yet. It's called To Haunt You in 2011. A horror romance thriller.
Liberty or Death Productions. Those guys contacted me. I have a very small part in the film. And I basically play a serial killer that's in a movie that this young couple is watching on television. And I had an opportunity to see a cut of the film. It's been quite a while in the making, and Jim Mannon and Robin Panay are the ones that put that film together, and I really, it's been so long since I've worked on that, I don't remember as much about that experience as I probably could or should.
Right.
But it's, from when I watched it, I think it's going to be, a nice little indie film. It's visually very nice. It's well done. There are some good performances in it, and I'm not sure what the release date is on that. It is probably coming up soon, though, because I know that Jim was working on getting that cut out, and that's about all I know on that one. You caught me off guard there.
Well, the next film, I'm definitely not going to catch you off guard on. You sent me a copy, Leech, in 2011, directed by John Taylor, and if I'm mistaken, you were a producer for this film also, correct?
Yes, that is correct.
And you played a character of Wes. Okay, I call this movie the Jim Dougherty and the Thomas J. Smith Show. No, that's Wes and Ron. This movie here, when you send it to me, you see a title called Leech. Okay, that can lead to anything. Okay, the most common thing you think, oh my God, Attack of the Killer Leeches.
Yeah, that's what everyone thinks is like, we're going to have big giant leeches, and it's going to be, exactly.
Which I knew that it wasn't, okay, obviously. I did do my research, but Jim, I'm telling you something. This film was brilliant. I love the cat and mouse between Wes and Ron. And when you watch this film, you don't know what's going to happen next. It's one of these movies that keeps you guessing. And the ending was, like, totally unbelievable. If you want to give listeners an idea about Leech, who has not seen Leech, the tagline states it, even evil has a dark side. Brilliant film, Jim.
Yeah.
Go ahead and give us an idea.
Well, John Taylor, who, again, is the director on that and also wrote the film, believe it or not, that film was a nightmare John had.
Wow.
John dreamt the whole film, the whole story, everything was a dream he had one night. And he woke up and it sort of haunted him, and he finally put it on paper. And I had seen both of John's earlier films, Promenade and the other one's escaping me, Brain Wrap, there it is, Promenade and Brain Wrap. And I sat there and I watched them, and I'd seen a lot of other indie films, and I watched these, and they were so engaging. And John is really, I think, a fabulous storyteller, and I wanted to work with him.
Right.
So we, got together and we talked, and he had sent me the script, and I read it, and he asked me, was there any particular role that I gravitated toward? And I said, this Ron character is really interesting, but I really can identify with Wes, but I think that you probably are looking for someone younger to play this character, just the way the script read. And he said to me, he goes, "You like Wes? It's yours." And I'm like, "Serious?" And so that was the deal. That's how I got that role. I identified with it, and I told John I did, and John had seen some of my other work, and just said, "Here, it's yours." And then we got together, started talking about it. one of the very first conversations we actually had about that was how to crash a car. Having watched the film, you see that there's a car gag in there, and then it kind of moved on from there. But that film was a 13-day shoot, and we shot all over Indiana, mostly central and northern Indiana, and it was a grueling. We had 13 16-hour days. And the one day that we had scheduled as a day off, we ended up having to shoot pickup shots because we got behind in the earlier part of the week. Thomas J., who plays Ron, who did a fantastic job in the film, he could only be there for a week. And we had to get all of his stuff shot. We had to plan the use of the van around his schedule because when he was gone, of course, it's his character's van, then the van was done, and so we had to just sort of shoot everything of his first and then move on. But then, we also had some wonderful supporting folks in the film. Lydia McDermott was great as Sarah, and Raymond Kester, who's a real good buddy of mine, I thought did a fantastic job in the film. And then I was also really pleased with the performance that Jim Hunter had put in as Pastor Steve.
Right.
He's really, great, and I've worked with him for years on stage, and he's one of my best friends, and was just great to work with. And then you've got a couple of cameos that I have to throw a little hat off to, is James Copeland as the guy from the pizza parlor that delivers the pizzas there early in the film during the interrogation scene, and Martin Stapleton, who are a couple of guys that came in there and did that interrogation scene and had a lot of fun with it. And later in the film, when Martin's character shows the bruises, those are actually real because we shot that diner scene the following day, and he had gotten bruised up by doing that interrogation scene, working with James and Thomas J.
Wow.
And I got to throw a hats off to Matt Staley, too. Matt was the director of photography on that, and I thought that he did a fantastic job shooting the film and really gave it a really good visual look. Actually, the same camera that I shot Beverly Lane with, not the exact same camera, but the same model, is what Matt used to shoot Leech. And two very distinctly different looks, all shot from the same camera. And I think that he just really has a great eye and did a great job of visually helping John tell the story.
Yeah. And listeners, in case you didn't recognize the one name, Raymond Kester was also in Beverly Lane. So if you see him in Leech, then you're going to know who it is from Beverly Lane. And Raymond, it's, I never seen him before until I seen Beverly Lane, and that's no slam towards him because, there's a lot of movies, a lot of actors, but Raymond is a unique individual. I never met him, but I interviewed him with the cast of Beverly Lane. The guy is brilliant, clever. He's a fun guy.
He's witty. He's funny. Yeah, he's great.
Oh, boy. But, yeah, so any listeners, again, if you get a chance, look for it in the future. Leech will be released sometime in the future. Am I correct, Jim?
Well, it's actually available now. You can buy it.
Okay.
Yeah, if you go to Leech the Movie, it's LEACH themovie.com. You can order it right from the website.
Nice. Listeners, grab it.
Go ahead. Yeah, thank you very much. It's another one of those labor of love. Some really good performances, and it's a nice little thriller, and the audiences that have seen it have really appreciated it. We've actually, I will tell you this interesting story, because of the subject matter that we don't want to give any spoilers away. It gets uncomfortable. It's a little bit uncomfortable, and when that revelation happened in the theater, there was a couple sitting next to me. This is at our premiere. And the gentleman leans over and he goes, I'm really sorry. This is really great, and I'm really enjoying it, but my wife can't handle this. We've got to go.
Wow.
So you know that if something, even though it's tastefully addressed in the film, disturbs someone in the audience enough that they can't watch it anymore, the storyteller's done their job, and that's hats off to John, I think, for handling it in the way he did. and you really just kind of have to see the film to understand exactly what I'm getting at there. But I think it's very tastefully handled, and it still makes your skin crawl.
Right. Yeah. And I mentioned earlier, and I'll say it again for listeners to hear it, what makes you a brilliant actor, and there's a lot of actors that can do it, Andrew Ross, one of them, yourself, Jim O'Rear, is to see your face at that one scene, and you knew it was coming, obviously, and to see your face and how you performed that scene was amazing. I mean, you pulled it off like, it's a brilliant job, Jim. Brilliant.
Well, thank you.
Thank you. Now, the next film I'm waiting to get a look at, Scalene in 2011.
Yes.
Zach Parker is the director, and this has a really interesting cast as well. If you want to give the listeners an idea about it, and just to mention, by the way, that punk Raymond Kester is in this one as well. So
yes, he is. Raymond's that guy. He's like, there's that guy again.
But go ahead and give listeners an idea about Scalene.
Well, Scalene is a film that surrounds the rape of a college girl and the three perspectives surrounding that event. One from the mother's point of view of the accused, one from the victim's point of view, and one from the point of view of the accused who has an oxy brain injury and cannot speak for himself. And the way Zach constructed the film is told in three different styles of time. The opening of the film and the beginning of the film is told in a chronological order that's in reverse, kind of like Memento in a way.
Okay.
And Margo Martindale, who won an Emmy for Justified, stars as Janice, the mother of the boy, and has a brilliant performance in the film. And Hannah Hall plays the college girl. Hannah was in Rob Zombie's Halloween. She's most famous and known for playing little Jenny in the film Forrest Gump.
Okay,
and then,
yeah.
Right. And Adam Scarambolo lives in Brooklyn. Adam plays Jacob, the son, who's had the oxy brain injury. And so the way the stories sort of unfold is you have to watch Janice's story to get some of the information, and then Jacob's story in the middle of the film is told in a total nonlinear fashion, and it gives you more of the story, and then Paige's story is told in a linear fashion, and it's chronological, and that fills in the gaps. And I've watched the film several times, and I just went to New York City to watch and participate in the opening of the film. They had a 1-week run in Brooklyn, and I saw it the Friday night and watched it, and I was like, I never noticed this before, but this makes sense. So even being in the film, I stunt coordinator in the film, and I play the character of Charles in the film, who is Margo Martindale's love interest. I found something new, and I think Zach did a brilliant job of constructing the film and giving you something that, when I first read the script, I knew I wanted to work on this film. Zach sent me the script. It was over the holiday, Thanksgiving, Christmas holiday, the 6 months before the film was shot, and I read it, and I called him, and I said, Zach, I love the script. I really want to work on this. And of course, I went through the whole audition process like everybody else and so forth. And there are a lot of people that, Zach had eyes on. And then, I won the role, and it was just a wonderful experience to work on that. To work opposite Margo Martindale was a thrill. And Zach, I think, has got a wonderful eye. And the DP on the film, Jim Timperman, shot it. He shot several films all around the country, and is just a wonderful DP. And then Carlos Jimenez Flores was also one of the producers on the film who did produce Motel Hell, which I just wrapped in Chicago. I think you wanted to talk about that also here in a little bit.
Yeah.
But just a wonderful experience all the way around, and the film is now available to put into your instant queue. It's available for your DVD queue on Netflix right now. So if you have Netflix and you go and type in Scalene and search for it, you'll come up with the film, and then you can add it to your queue. He's got that. I'm not sure where he is right now in the distribution state with the film, but it is in the whole distribution channel right now, getting all the things finalized, and eventually it'll be available, hopefully, in video stores, video on demand. There's a possibility that there may even be a limited theatrical release and so forth. So, but it's one of those, I watch the film and I look at it from the perspective that, I think there's some influence there that I see of Hitchcock and Kubrick in the way Zach has put this film together. But, I'm not sure what else to say on that other than, if you get a chance to see it,
I will.
Check it out.
That's on my radar to see. So, now the next film, I interviewed Mr. Jacob Belinsky, and
yes,
I do want to give special thanks again to P.J. Starks. He directed he asked me if I was interested in help promoting this, so I said sure. And then I did an interview with Jacob Belinsky about the film, 3 Tears on Bloodstained Flesh.
Yes.
Now, I heard Jacob's, obviously his ideas and stories about the film. Would you want to give listeners an idea? You played a character of Sheriff Rex Driscoll.
Sheriff Driscoll, yep.
And, of course, it stars also my boy James O'Rear and that Eric T. Schroeder, that asshole. You remember that. Sonny Burnett, and, I've got to mention Mark A. Nash, if I'm mistaken. He was also in Beverly Lane and Scalene, correct?
Right, that is correct.
And sorry, guys, I'll give you a proper respect. You guys did a great job, and Beverly Lane as well. And I'm interested to see Scalene. But go ahead and give your idea of your thoughts of 3 Tears on Bloodstained Flesh.
Well, it's funny because the film, the first thing that I got from Jake is I kept saying the same thing. You are 3 Tears on Bloodstained Flesh, and that's what everybody was saying. And Jake kept going, no, it's 3 Tears on Bloodstained Flesh. And I'm like,
whoops.
What do you mean tears on Bloodstained Flesh? And he said, well, and then here's the thing. Here's the thing that's great, Chris, is that he said, I don't care what people call it, because I made it ambiguous on purpose.
Sure, Jacob.
Because I noticed that when you interviewed Jake and you said 3 Tears, I went, okay, is Jake going to say anything? Nope, he didn't, so he's cool with it.
Thanks a lot, Jacob, you jerk.
But we talked about that, and I said, aren't people going to get confused? And he goes, that's the beauty of it. And that's how laid back Jake is about it. He's like, I don't care what they call it. I just want him to go see it.
Right.
But we shot that. That was like an 11-day shoot. And it was an intense 11 days. Jake is great. Jake gets so much coverage. I can't wait to see what it looks like when he cuts it together, because I know he's got like 5 or 10 to probably 10 or 12 to 1 ratio for every single shot he's got. And I also stunt coordinated that film as well and played Sheriff Driscoll. And when Jake sent me the script, I read it, and it was very similar to the experience I had with John Taylor, where I looked at it and he said, which of those characters jumps out at you? And I said, well, there's this character. And then I said, and then there's the Sheriff Driscoll character. I said, he is so opposite of me and has so many things that come out of his mouth that I would never say. I want to play him. And so, Jake said, well, I could maybe kind of see you. That kind of tickles my brain a little bit. Why don't you send me an audition? Pick something from the script and send it in. And I did. And then we talked, a few days later, and he was very happy with what I had sent him, so he gave me that role. And it was so much fun to play because I was able to totally lose myself in there. I mean, if you watch the film and you see me at all, then I didn't do something right. And if you watch the film and afterward you won't talk to me, I did something right. That's where this character is. He is the most vile, womanizing, sexist pig in existence. And it was really fascinating to jump into the skin of that man and bring him to life. And I even went as far as to, change the register of my voice. I had my hair colored, and I shaved my beard in a fashion to match the character, and even put on a little weight so that I had more of a little beer gut, looking body, and really just kind of immersed myself into that role. So I'm really looking forward to seeing how that film comes together, and knowing Jake's earlier work, I was very excited to have an opportunity to work on that with him, and I know it's going to be a really wonderful piece of work. I'm looking forward to seeing the final cut.
Me too. But I do want to give a shout out though. Louis D. Cheney was one of the gaffers, and he's another one of these brilliant directors. If I pronounce it right, he did a short film that I reviewed called Elysian. I think that's how it's pronounced. Brilliant guy himself. So I just want to give him a special shout out to Mr. Cheney. So
cool. Yeah, I had an opportunity to work with him on this, and I thought he did a wonderful job, with the work he did on the film. I haven't had an opportunity to work with him any further, but down the road at some point, hopefully I will.
Well, this next film, hopefully you want to talk about it. I think you have an idea, and it's not what you think it is first, but it's a Fred Olen Ray film.
Yes.
Bad Blood, the Hatfields and the McCoys. Now, I'm a big Fred Olen Ray and Chris Olen Ray fan. For the simple fact is they make a lot of these sci-fi movies, and I enjoy them movies. A lot of people hate on them. I don't know what the big deal is. I mean, everybody knows the idea. A sci-fi film is not going to be an extensive, high-budget film. There's going to be shortcuts. That's just the way it is. But to me, they're still entertaining, and go ahead. Give us your experiences with this film.
Well, I did one day on that film. I have a role that is a shopkeeper, and had an opportunity to work with the young man that plays John Hatfield, and Fred was great. Fred, pretty much brought you in there, and what was really great is we sat and we did rehearsals, and he was pretty happy with the rehearsal read, and just said, should have shot it. Should have shot it. He's just real laid back, and we shot that out at Copper Canyon Ranch in Hopkinsville, Kentucky, which I don't know if you've never been out that way. It's a wonderful little western town that's out in the middle of nowhere, and the people that own it, Tim and Carol, are just wonderful, wonderful folks. There's another film that was shot out there recently by a friend of mine named Lee Vervoort called Guntown. And that was the first time I'd seen that town, so I was excited to have an opportunity to go out and see Tim and Carol again. And I hadn't been out to Copper Canyon. Lee kept inviting me out there, so I had an opportunity to go out there and see the town. And the day we went out there, it had rained all night long. Got there at 9 o'clock in the morning, and the place was a muddy mess. And that was a blast. The funny thing was, the producers on the film, Fred Olen Ray, they had talked about renting a big water truck because they wanted to get that kind of wet, nasty, overcast atmosphere for the stuff they were shooting that day. And they got all that rain, and they had the mud, and they had everything else, so they got exactly what they wanted on that film, and it all came from a gift from nature, which was wonderful. But I did the one day on the film, and my understanding is that it's going to be distributed through Redbox and straight-to-video DVD sales, and also I believe they were negotiating broadcast rights with AMC.
Nice.
So hopefully that'll get sealed, and they're wanting to get it out, first part of the year in the spring or very early summer. So it should be available, I would say, hopefully by April or May. That's what I was told.
Well, it's a fantastic cast. You had Jeff Fahey, Perry King, Priscilla Barnes, Tim Abel, and Dylan Vox. But yeah, I will definitely check this out, obviously, because I am, like I said before, I like Fred Olen Ray's stuff,
Oh, I love Westerns, and
Yeah.
I was just thrilled to have an opportunity to work on it.
Well, the next film, it is not a remake. I was confused. I'll admit that. But Motel Hell, you just mentioned earlier, which you told me a couple weeks ago when we were talking, that you did some work on there. Do you want to give this as an idea about Motel Hell? I mean, enough that obviously you can't say too much, but you want to give an idea of what it's about?
I'll give you a little bit. I can fill you in a tiny bit on it. It's in post right now, and of course I don't want to give any spoilers, but it was a film that Carlos Jimenez Flores, who was one of the co-producers on Scalene, had gotten in contact with me and asked me if I would come up to Chicago and work on this film. And it's not a remake of the Motel Hell from the 80s, that I can tell you, but it is a horror film. It was shot at a motel on the south side of Chicago, and basically the storyline is, in a nutshell, without spoiling anything, I'll probably get a phone call after this is heard. Why did you tell them that? No. These paranormal ghost hunters come to this motel because of all of the stories that have been told about it being haunted. And in the course of their investigation, they discover things may not be what they seem. And that's really about all I can say.
That's good enough.
At this point in time.
Yeah, I just want to get a mention out there, to get it some stink. Some people to
right.
really, check it out.
And, it was great because there were a lot of local folks that worked on the film. And then there were several folks that came in, from L.A., and there were a couple people that came in from New York to work on that. So we really had the three major cities fairly well covered in the shooting of that film. And Carlos was great as a director. He came in and he said, okay, I want this, I want that, and then he took care of everybody, and he was very laid back about, his approach to everything, but it ran so efficient. It was just a wonderful process all the way through.
Excellent. Yeah, I would definitely look for that one. I mean, I didn't know anything about it until you mentioned it to me, and, I do want to check that out in the future. But,
yeah.
Is there anything else that you want to mention that I might have browsed over or that I don't know about?
Off the top of my head, there's a film that I did called Fire from Below.
Oh yeah.
That broadcast on the SyFy Channel is still available, video stores, on Netflix, so you can check that out. I'm in the opening 5 minutes of the film. So that's kind of a fun one. I met several wonderful people in the process of doing that film, and we've got some good relationships that have continued on to this day, so that was a really kind of a cool project to work on. And then I've got some other things in the pipe. I'm set right now to DP Joshua Hall's new film, Terms. I don't know if you guys talked about Terms at all.
Not yet, but I know. I'm aware of it.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Can't really say too much about that one. That one's another one that's kind of under wraps because he doesn't want the storyline to get out there. But I've got that down the pipe, and I've got a few other things that are in the works that people are negotiating, with me regarding. So hopefully down the road we'll see more come, your way. And I know that Zach Parker, who did Scalene's, got a couple of things coming up that I'll be working on with him. So I'm pretty excited. There's a lot of stuff. There's a lot of stuff in the pipe, and it's all good fun. And let's get out there and make some great movies.
Yeah. Now you did say Joshua Hall's Terms, or you did say Joshua Hall's a turd?
No, I said Terms.
I'm just kidding. I'm hoping he listens to this because I like giving him a good jab every now and then.
Oh, he'll take that and he'll hit right back.
That's my whole goal. But well, Jim, thank you for coming on. I'm glad that we got this done because again, I've seen Leech That's all I've seen right now that I've seen you in, besides behind the scenes of Beverly Lane. But great job. I'm telling you, Leech is one of my favorites. So
thank you. I appreciate that. It was a fun one to do, and I did a lot of work on that film along with a lot of other great, very talented people, and we're all real proud of it.
Well, I'm glad, because it's well worth it, because I'm hoping that a lot more people get to see Leech and Beverly Lane and Blood Tears of Bloodstained Flesh. Is that better, Jacob?
Now, see, I'm going to get in trouble. What are you, everybody's grandmother, correcting them all the time? What's going on?
I'll call Jacob myself and say, hey, Jacob, okay? It's Terry.
Yeah.
You're right. I'll get them all jabbed up for you. But anyways, thanks all for coming on. You're a great guy, and it was fun.
Thanks for having me.
No problem. And
I can't believe Wes could be guilty of murder. But part of me wonders how well I knew him to begin with. I don't know. Do you think he did it?
Well, to be perfectly honest, I actually don't care if he did or didn't.
You said you'd get rid of that gun?
I did.
Oh, you did?
You know your prints are still all over that thing?
You didn't answer the question.
What do you want, Ron?
That's what I like about you, Wes. You're a whole business.
Wes?
You just assaulted a law enforcement officer who's investigating a homicide, which you are the lead suspect. Not a smart move, partner.
I didn't see any of this coming.
You a man of faith, Wes?